Is anybody here? You guys are here. Okay, great. This is awesome. Yay. All right. Hi, I'm sorry. I was late this morning. I was teaching a class with Agla on bed bugs, emotional support animals, and marijuana. So that's where my head is right now. Oh, I think I have on the same shirt I have on in the picture. I'm here. Hello. Don't know what you guys want to talk about today. Got a new law in San Diego. They're trying to jump on the bandwagon with LA. It's getting kind of interesting. Still think that they are going to, for the most part, free us on June 30th. There is talk of extensions, but pay attention, please, because who's asking for extensions are tenants that haven't paid their rent and don't want to participate in the government program. Go figure. So we'll see if they get that ruling, but for the most part, Disneyland's open. Yay. And I'm back in California. Yay. Came in last night. So just want to touch base with you guys, let you know that it does still appear that we are going to continue to open. Things are opening up and we're seeing that happening versus it not happening. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Yee. Two things I want to tell you guys today. Please be careful. Do not put any rents owed on a disposition of security deposit during this pandemic. Okay, don't know if everybody got that out of Senate Bill 91. When you do a disposition of security deposit, if they owe rent during the pandemic period, you can't take it out of their deposit money unless they put in writing with a wet signature, meaning on a piece of paper with a pen and an ink, that it's okay for you to take the rent money that they owe you out of the deposit they have on file. If they have not done that, or they do not do that, you have to return the deposit. Okay, only for damages, not for rent. Everybody got that, I hope. Somebody missed that one last week and I was like, oh, that was a bad one. So just want to make sure everybody remembers, don't do it. Do not charge them rent on their disposition of security deposit. And there was one other thing that happened this week and I was like, I'm going to talk to my peeps about that, make sure they're not doing that, but it'll come in my blonde brain in just a minute. Let me get some water here. Does anybody have anything that they want to discuss, touch on, talk about, just so we're all on the same page? So far, it looks like we're opening. I'm so excited. I'm like, come on. And then I want to talk to you guys, and I mean really talk to you guys about what I anticipate coming forward. Right now, currently, right now, today, if you want to do an eviction in LA County, uncontested, meaning they don't fight you, it's taking 6 to 8 months. The courts are inundated, okay? With that being said, a contested eviction is taking a year or longer. If the real estate bubble bursts like we all think it's going to, they are going to inundate our court systems with foreclosures and then possession evictions after foreclosure, where they're either evicting the tenant or they're evicting the previous owner. I have a feeling that we're going to see a huge, huge slowdown in our legal system moving forward. Am I trying to scare you? No, I'm trying to bring you to reality so that you see what I see, so that when it hits, you're prepared for it. My theory is always brace for impact, prepare for the worst, hope for the best. And if you plan accordingly, you'll be fine, right? So keep that in mind. We do have cash for keys as an offer. They are still trying to ban cash for keys in LA County, just so you know. And I was like, why would they do that? Because it bypasses the court system. They don't make any money. Much easier for us that are trying to do something or make things happen, whether we're selling, buying, relocating, whatever it is. That's going to be quite challenging if that goes through. I'm not for it, just so you know. I think we should have the ability to go pay our tenants to get out. I'm just saying, it makes sense, right? Also, for those of you that are attempting to offer cash for keys to your tenants, Offering them $500 is insulting. Stop doing it. Would you move for $500? No, don't expect them to. Okay. Even if we're trying to get them out of our house, we still need to keep that balance right between the landlord and the tenant. We can't insult them right out of the gate. $500 isn't even going to pay for the moving truck. And let's face it, with supply and demand as it currently is, they're going to be moving out of the state. Let's face it, there's nothing in California. It's getting ridiculous. Vacancies are going up quickly. As soon as they're hitting the market, you guys are getting 20 applications on the first day. I mean, let's face it, it is what it is, supply and demand. That's driving the cost of rentals through the roof, as you know. And we're starting to see some of 2006, 2007 repeating itself. Can't stay like this forever, guys. Yeah, it's getting interesting. Very, very interesting. Does anybody have a question for me or something that they want me to discuss so that we have more clarity on what's going on? Anybody? Everybody's very quiet today. We got nothing. Wow. Oh, here we go. Thank you. What do we got? 60-day notices. You want to talk about a 60-day notice to vacate the premises? Just text me a yes or a no. I cannot use them at all right now. Okay? Cannot use them at all. 60-day notice to terminate tenancy has to be from a governmental order right now, or that the landlord or family member wants to move back in the property. And in some cities, that's not even allowed. If you need to get someone out of your house right now, today, I would consider offering them cash for keys or making some kind of an arrangement along those lines. If you're selling, you could list the house for sale. And as soon as you have an open escrow, you can serve the tenant with a 30-day notice to vacate. And legally and technically, they must vacate. However, please take note, if they fail to vacate on day 31, you can start an eviction. We just talked about how long evictions take. I think your escrow will fall apart in the meantime. If your escrow falls apart, so does your eviction case. Paying attention? So if you're in eviction and escrow falls apart and then you get a new buyer, you have to start over with a new eviction and a new notice because that escrow is no longer in play. Make sense? Again, everything's starting to scream cash for keys. 60-day notice to terminate tenancy can't be used right now under Senate Bill 91. Like I said, unless it's for government order, code enforcement, things like that, maybe saying it's an uninhabitable dwelling, that would mean you could most likely evict. Things like that you can use a 60-day notice for right now. Other than that, you can't terminate tenancy. I think we're going to see a lot of notices go out on July 1st when we can terminate tenancy. And at this time, we still have not heard from the Department of Fair Housing over when is a reasonable amount of time to terminate tenancy after a global pandemic without a reason and it not be considered retaliation. In the new Senate bill we got 2 pages of retaliatory issues. So I have a feeling that although we're all banking on July 1st, the reality is we're banking on January 1st to be completely safe so that they can't possibly scream retaliatory issues as far as terminating tenancy. Why am I saying that? Because I'm not an attorney and I can't give you legal advice. But what I can tell you is what I'm seeing that's happening in the industry. So my opinion is fair housing has really big teeth and I don't like to poke them in the eye because when they poke me in the eye, it hurts. So for that reason alone, I wouldn't even consider terminating tenancy without cause until January 1st of 2022. Just saying, I wouldn't even serve the notice until then. If you need them out before then, you may want to consider the cash for keys agreement, whether you're foregoing past due rents that are owed or you're paying them to vacate. And if you're paying them to vacate, Offer them more than $500. Come on, you guys. Could you move for 500 bucks? No. Would you? No. Don't expect them to. Average price we're seeing right now is anywhere from $7,500 to $10,000 as a rough estimate. And we'll see lots more cash for keys agreements as the foreclosures start barreling in, because that's only a matter of time too. We're already seeing a few. Hold on, let me check my messages. So still wait for rent increases until January 1st. I would wait for rent increases until January 1st. Here's my thinking, okay? If your tenant has paid the rent throughout the pandemic, and now the pandemic's over, do you want to reward them for good behavior by immediately increasing their rent? Or do you want to thank them that they didn't put you up on a hook to dry and you're still functioning like normal? Keep that balance right. Just saying. January is a much better date. Okay. We'll know more as it gets a little bit closer. Again, we haven't heard anything from Fair Housing. So from my perspective, it's better to prepare you for the worst case scenario. And then if that changes, we're like, yee, okay, we can do this. But it's just a better business practice. If the tenant's been great, to be great back to them, I would wait. As far as rent increases, I would absolutely wait until January 1 to do a rent increase, unless it's approved by the federal government. In other words, Section 8 or something along those lines. I wouldn't do it. It's too risky. Have you seen the fines? If you increased rent during the pandemic, any expenses to the tenant, reverse it now, okay? No joke. The court can fine you anywhere from $250 to $2,500 per incident. Example, you raised rent on April 1st of 2020. That's the protected period of the pandemic. They could fine you up to $2,500 for each month that you requested that amount of rent. Ouch. Reverse it. Get rid of it. Make it go away. Okay. It's not worth it, you guys. Come on. It's not worth it. New news for everybody. The CPI changes have come out. Agla will be posting those within an hour or so. And then I will be piggybacking and coming up with those CPI amounts for you. So for those of us that are subject to either city rent control or the statewide rent control initiative, we need to know what the CPI is. And that information was released just recently, like this morning or yesterday. So we should have that information for you very quickly. LA City is also talking about a different type of rent increase, if you will. So very interesting news. And I expect AGLA to have that out by the end of today. So if you are an AGLA member, or you are encouraged to be an AGLA member, or it has something to do with, hey, let me check that out. They are extremely thorough with getting us information as it evolves. So one of the reasons that I adore them as an association is they are on it, for lack of a better term. Pay attention to those emails you get from them, because they are pretty smart when it comes to that kind of stuff. For a tenant that gamed the system, you want to do a rent increase. Here's my question to you. They gamed the system. Did they qualify for the government program and go down that road? Or are they doing the 25 and claiming COVID, and then you have the 75? Which part of the system are they gaming? Because I hear you, a lot of them are gaming that system, and it sucks. I talked to 4 different attorneys, even a tenant attorney, and they're all telling me if they sign that declaration every month and they still haven't paid you and they don't want to participate in the government program, too bad. They got some rent relief. Yay, some rent relief. That's always great news. I'd still wait. Don't increase their rents yet. Let's have this conversation again in June, right before July 1st comes, okay? So for right now, don't bank on it. Bank on January 1st, okay? But we'll have the conversation again mid-June, I promise. I promise, because I am very anxious to raise some rents myself. Just saying. Let me see if we have anything else that anybody wants to talk about. Okay. Anybody have anything else they want to discuss, talk about? Go from there. Please take note when you're increasing rents. We are currently in a state of emergency. So we'll see how long that lasts afterwards. But know that they changed the law January 1st of 2020 regarding rent increase notices. So number one, 10% or less is still a 30-day. 11% to 14% is no longer a 60-day notice. It is a 90-day notice. Okay. And anything 15% or higher on a rent increase takes a 120-day notice. Just so everybody's on the same page. Okay. And that's when we start being able to increase rents again, which is not right now. How will a new governor help landlords? Maybe a new governor won't make all these ridiculous moratoriums about how we can't evict and do all these other things. Maybe a new governor would actually own investment property and understand that we have our blood, our sweat, and our tears in our investment homes, and we don't have deep pockets that we have to rob from Peter to pay Paul when our tenant doesn't pay us the rent. Don't get me going, girl. Don't get me going. Maybe a new governor would understand that although we are outnumbered by tenants by 78% in the state of California, we should have a louder voice because we provide them an essential living arrangement. Essential. Don't get me going. I think he should hold targets at the shooting range. Maybe he'll question how accurate I am. Just saying. Hey, you guys, I'm you. I am you. At the end of the day, I own investment property, and the bureaucracy and bullshit that is flying around this COVID pandemic has got to stop. I don't mean to sound like I'm not in fear of it, because I do understand it is annihilating part of our community. I get that, okay? But it's not annihilating the majority of the community. So open us back up, get us back to work. Let's get this economy rocking and rolling. Let's figure out this housing crisis that we're having right now. And let's hit this ground running, because this has got to stop. I mean, we're getting mixed messages from the president himself. And I don't mean to be an ass when I say this, but how come a fully vaccinated man still wears a mask, even outside? And I think we're going to be wearing masks for quite some time, because he can't figure out whether he should wear one or not. Just saying. Just saying. So I think masks will be the new norm for a while. We may be walking around like China for the next 5 years. Who knows? It's weird, because in places where they remove the mask mandate, COVID's not an issue. Did you hear that? I mean, there's a lot of uncertainties. There's a lot of science. There's a lot of opinions. And yeah, I'll try to keep my mouth shut the best I can and keep my opinion to myself. But I'm sick and tired of the bureaucracy and the bullshit. We need to get on with our lives. Yes, we did lose a large amount of our communities. Yes, we are suffering as a nation, not only from the economy and the this and the that. We're suffering mentally from this. This isn't normal. This is not normal. I would much rather be face to face with you guys so I could hug you and tell you hello. And this is not normal. When you take someone out of their normal environment and put them in a closet, which is kind of what we're doing by telling them to stay in their houses, it's affecting them mentally. It is mentally challenging to some people. Some people are having a really difficult time with this whole pandemic. Don't get me started. Not on bureaucracy and bullshit, because I could yak for days. And I got another question, and this just floors me, okay? So I was watching the news, and I was watching some people escaping from Honduras. They were coming from another country for whatever fear they have from the country they're in to our country. I get it. but our government is giving them $1,200 and telling them good luck and putting them on a plane or a bus. What? If we keep giving out funds at the rate we're doing, we're not going to be able to print money fast enough. And for those of us that are sitting at home on unemployment still, it's time to go back to work, folks. I know we've been making extra money sitting at home, but the vacation's over. Okay. Look at the big picture of what it's doing to the American dollar. That's all I'm going to say. But if we're fed money for not working and we're being rewarded for not working, some of us are actually making more money than we were when we were working. Why in the heck would we go back to work? So on the East Coast, just saying, every place I go to, whether it's a nail salon, a hardware store, a restaurant, all have help wanted signs up. So I asked them, every time I come in here, you guys have help wanted signs up. What's going on? Well, people still want to eat here. People still want to come here and dine, but nobody wants to come and work because they're making more money sitting at home on their butts or doing whatever they're doing at home rather than coming to work. They're basically incentivizing people to stay home. Wait a minute, we're a working nation. What is happening here? This doesn't make sense, you guys. And then the real estate market bubble's going to burst. Some of us may lose some investment properties. Some of us may gain some. It's going to be a long, bumpy road for a hot minute. Okay. It's not going to tickle, guys. When you stand back and take yourself out of the equation and look at the very big picture of what's going on, it sucks. And I don't mean to sound like a Debbie Downer here, but pay attention to what's happening around us. A lot of it doesn't make sense. How could you pay people more money to stay home than if they're working? It's like you're giving them an incentive to stay home and it's not needed. Disneyland's open. Places are opening. Some states have removed their mask mandate altogether and they don't have COVID problems. We'll see what happens with the whole real estate market. My concern is whether or not they continue to prolong this even longer. I don't see that being the case. Come on, they opened Disneyland. How are they going to give tenants 6 more months to pay us? At some point, that hammer needs to fall and they need to be held accountable for their actions. And if they refuse to apply in the government program, they should hold targets at the shooting range. Hold on, I saw another question come up. Oh, there's a few. If I have a tenant that is now on a month-to-month in LARSO and they, in that unit, they gave you a 30-day notice to vacate on June 8th. She paid her May rent in full. I sent her the receipt of the 30-day notice that shows she needs to pay the prorated rent for 8 days in June. If she doesn't pay it on the due date, can I deduct it from the security deposit? She never had COVID related in it. No, you cannot. Anna, you cannot. You cannot deduct any rents from the deposit throughout the COVID protected period unless the tenant puts in writing on pen and ink with a wet signature that you can. Okay, if you get that, hold that as gold. If you don't get that, you can only sue them in small claims court in August. Do you think there will be lawsuits when the moratorium is over for reparations to landlords? Absolutely. Absolutely. Just so you guys know, AGLA, which is the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles, their website is aagla.org, has a lawsuit against the city of LA, against the mayor of LA, and against the state of California, all about the COVID pandemic and how they were able to take the written terms of our rental agreement and rewrite when our rent was due. I didn't think the government had that kind of power. I was sadly mistaken. Just saying. I didn't think they could do that. Wow. I've been living in a bubble. So yeah, they're suing, just so you know. AGLA is extremely involved in that. So if you want to jump on that bandwagon to get in that class action lawsuit, contact AGLA. They would love that. I wish you had a crystal ball so I could decide whether to sell off many rentals this year due to potential devastating capital gains tax. I wish you had a crystal ball so I could decide whether to sell off many rentals this year due to the, okay. Hi. I'm a real estate broker that doesn't practice real estate sales transactions, but I would like to share some information with you. Are you paying attention? If the money doesn't hit the ground, you most likely aren't going to have to pay capital gains tax. They have a lot of investments in other states and in this state even for investors to purchase parts of a multifamily community where you get your return on investment and things along those lines, and you do none of the work. So I have a friend that got involved in a co-op. I want to say he put in $750,000. He sold his properties and put it in this co-op so he didn't have to pay the capital gains tax. He doesn't have to screen tenants. He doesn't have to deal with maintenance calls. He doesn't have to deal with any of that. He just gets a check every month for his return on his investment in that apartment community. So you can 1031 exchange. Yes, that's what I'm talking about, Val. You can do a 1031 tax exchange and get involved in a co-op and avoid having to pay capital gains tax. Talk to your real estate broker. Talk to your tax person. They are here to help you. There are ways around capital gains. Okay, everybody paying attention? Is this thing on? Don't think that you have to eat those capital gains tax. Paying attention? For me, I did something a little bit different. And I'm actually waiting for the market to crash so I can reinvest and buy several more properties. Just saying. So I'm not telling you anything that you guys didn't already know. You've heard it forever. Buy low, sell high. Well, in case you haven't been paying attention, the market is off the charts right now. Right now. Okay. Right now. I sold one of my big investment properties in August of 2019, and then the pandemic hit. If I would have held out for another year and a half, 2 years, I'd make $100,000 more than I did then. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Have to, want to, need to. Talk to your tax person about capital gains tax. Talk to your agent about a 1031 tax exchange so that you're not paying taxes on that capital gains. See if you can hit the ground running. Remember, you can do a 1031 tax exchange in another state. You can get involved in a co-op where they build huge 1,500 unit apartment communities and it's owned by partners. You're one of those partners, but you don't have a say-so. You're a silent partner. They took your money, your mouth stays closed. You're not screening tenants. You're not dealing with repairs. You're not collecting rents. That's a them problem. They send you a check every month. Hit the easy button. Okay, just saying. So there are things you can do out there. You just got to start talking to your financial advisors, to your real estate agents and brokers, to your tax people. Okay, they will help you. And maybe now is a good time to sell. Maybe you want to sell, put it in a 1031 tax exchange. Maybe you have a dream house. Maybe there's lots of opportunities going on right now. People are offering $10,000, $20,000 more than asking price to try to close a deal. It's insane. People ask me all the time, why are they all buying? It's tenants that are buying, just so you're aware, and some investors. And if you're thinking about buying in this market, don't. You want to sell right now, not buy right now. Got it? Are you paying attention? Is this thing on? Buy low, sell high. It's been that way for eons. and probably the best real estate advice anybody could have ever told you. And you've heard it from everybody. Buy low, sell high. We're in a false market right now. If you can close an escrow right now and get top dollar and $20,000 extra, flip and do it. Figure out a way with your tax person and your CPA and your broker to make it happen for you. And if you're in a position where you can reinvest that money when the market crashes, you'll be ahead of the game, not behind it. Just saying. Makes sense. Lee, I saw you hopped on. I saw City of San Diego passed a moratorium. They have new laws. Oh, joy. They're starting to jump on the bandwagon with City of LA is what's going on. And San Diego's always been that way. So sorry. But
yeah,
yeah.
it just gets worse every day. It does. I have a question for you, Patty. How is the raging inflationary economy going to impact all these prices and rents and everything?
Well, if you talk to your real estate broker or your appraiser or your lender or anybody involved in real estate, they'll all tell you the bubble's going to burst. We all see it. We see a repeat of 2006 and 2007 all over again. Federal mortgage rates are at their lowest. People are offering $20,000 more than asking price, and they're not staying on the market more than 5 days. It's happening all over again. The bubble is building. If you can sell now, sell. If you can't, then you can't. It's going to crash and it's going to come crumbling down. Here's the problem. Our courts are inundated with COVID cases and eviction cases because of COVID. If the real estate market crashes on top of it, it's going to inundate our court system even more. We're going to be looking at a year for an uncontested eviction. Is this thing on? You guys paying attention? It's going to get worse before it gets better. But when it gets better, it's going to be good. And if you're in a position to purchase, buckle up because the time is coming. It's a matter of when, not if. But it can't keep going at the rate that it's going, you guys. We have owners, let's face it, independent owners that got burned during the COVID pandemic, and they currently have vacancies. They're sitting on them. They don't want to rent during the pandemic and have the tenant cry COVID and not pay them. They're sitting there waiting for this pandemic to be over so they can put their house back on the market for rent. I hope they don't lose it to foreclosure in the meantime. That's a pretty big expense. I understand the fear, but also I understand the expense. We also have tenants that are purchasing property based on stated income, not factual income. They're back to option arm lending, which is what did us in 2008 and 2009, only they're not calling it option arm. They're calling it something else. It's coming, you guys. It's a matter of when, not if. Okay? Get ready. I'm already starting to see in the high desert area, the high dollar homes up as foreclosure sales. So we're already seeing foreclosures and forgive me for saying this, but they are out there for the over $1 million properties in the high desert area. Are there a lot of them? I'd say there's less than 100. Over $1 million, maybe 100, who knows? But we're starting to see those big high dollar homes get foreclosed on. We're starting to see, does this make sense? Think about the owner that hasn't gotten any rent since March. Any rent since March. They still can't evict. Tenant won't participate in the program. They're past a notice of default and looking in the face of a notice of trustee sale. And no rent's coming in. What's happening to us and what is going to happen to us in the future is very clear if you just back up far enough to look at the big picture of what's about to happen. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just trying to make sure you wake up and you're prepared for what's about to happen, because it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be 2008, 2009 all over again. I have a friend that only owes $40,000 on their house because they bought in a low market and they've been paying it off rapidly over the past 10 years. and they just refinanced and pulled out all the equity they could just so they could use it when the market crashes to go buy properties and pay cash for them. I thought it was smart. If they don't spend the money, all they have to do is put it back in the, pay the loan off, and they're done here. So creative lending. So just saw that happen. Just saying, something to think about, you guys. Federal mortgage rates are at their lowest right now. So refining and pulling out equity is a simple way to get the money you need to acquire another investment property once it crashes. And remember, you don't have to stay in state if you don't want to. Just saying. Just saying. Anybody have anything else? I thought I saw something come through. Let me peek. Screening new tenants will be tricky. Screening new tenants is going to be atrocious. Let's call it what it is. We can't ask about what happened during the pandemic. Okay. So the honest tenant that paid all the way through, we can't ask. The tenant that didn't pay and took us for a ride, we can't ask. We can't ask during the pandemic period. They are protected. So what we can do is look at their credit report. Did they acquire a new vehicle during the pandemic? You paying attention? Is this thing on? Do you guys hear me? Did they pay their bills throughout the pandemic? Just saying. They're paid their bills throughout the pandemic period and their credit report looks good. Just saying. I mean, let's face it, most of them got high credit card debt. I did some. I didn't do too bad, but I did do some online shopping during the pandemic because I was bored. It wasn't too bad, but I did do some. I am guilty. I think we all are. Just a little bit. Some of us a lot of it. But we'll be able to see that on credit card purchases and transactions. We'll be able to see the trends through the credit report. Yes, retail therapy. That's for damn sure. So we're going to be able to see those types of things on credit reports. If they acquired a new vehicle, we'll be able to see that on a credit report. Some cities are now actually, and they're doing this for subsidized housing. Subsidized housing, they are now starting something where they're letting it go to the credit reporting agencies, and they're doing this as a trial run with just some areas to see if that helps build tenants' credit of showing their rental history on making payments on time on their credit report. And I just keep smiling because they say, oh, that way a landlord can see our credit worthiness. Yeah, but what they don't understand is if you miss payments, it's going to show that too. Shh. So yeah, let's start that program. We'll see how long that lasts before they figure out that they're hanging themselves. Remember, two-way street there. But yeah, look at what happened during the pandemic period. They are protected, so you're not going to get any information out of previous landlords, etc. It's all you. It falls on your shoulders. You're the one screening them. You have to make those decisions. But remember, they're getting paid more money to stay home than they were going to work. That's part of the problem with the bureaucracy and bullshit that's currently happening in our nation. Okay, just saying. I mean, it's bad when you walk down a shopping strip, and I'm trying to think of something that we'd have here that was similar, and every store you go into has a help wanted sign. Why is, what's going on? Do they all move to California? I mean, I don't know. I wanted to know. It made sense. But no, we're making more money staying at home than we are working. So why would we want to work? If another landlord called me, I would say the tenant was great if they were great. I would say I cannot say anything if they were bad. Just tell them that you don't provide personal opinions and you can't talk about anything that happened during the protected period of COVID. That kind of leaves it at that. And here's a tip for you guys, okay? And this is common against all property managers. And property managers out there are going to go, yeah, she's right. She's right. We have a code with each other. when we're talking about a tenant. And it goes like this. Would you re-rent to them again? And if you re-rent to them, you'd say, oh, absolutely, they've been wonderful tenants, in a heartbeat. And if you wouldn't rent to them again, what you say is, if they qualified. When you hear that, you can guess that that manager is trying to tell you something. Only if they qualified. Red flag. Paying attention? Hi. Yes, we do have codes. We do speak another language. When do you need to give the notice to a tenant that the house may be sold to an investor who wants to keep the tenant in place? We have one tenant freaking that we may be selling the house, though it will not affect her. Are you paying attention? Do you want to know when you have to give them the notice? Are you listening? When escrow closes and you no longer own the property, you as a landlord are required by law to notify your tenant of a few things. Number one, who their new owner is. Number two, where they pay their rent to now. Number three, a phone number that they can contact in case of an emergency or a repair. And number four, who has their security deposit. Got it? Thank you, Stacy. So you, by law, are required to give a notice to the tenant whenever you sell a property and you no longer own it. You have to tell them who their new landlord is, who they contact in case of an emergency, where they send their rent to, and who has their security deposit. Those four things. And it's not formal. It's not anything they have to sign. It's a letter that you write. Dear tenants residing at the property located at blank. I am writing today to inform you that as of blank date, the landlord that you've been paying rent to no longer owns the property as it is sold to blank name. You can pay your rent to them at blank address, and in the event of emergency, you can contact them at blank phone number. Please also take note that they are in full receipt of your security deposit in the amount of blank. Sincerely, so-and-so. Very simple. That's when you have to notify a tenant that the property is sold. Because you're right, it doesn't affect them. Thank you, Stacy. We love you. Does anybody have anything else they want to talk about? Other than on the East Coast, it's like 50 degrees, and out here it's like 90 degrees, and I'm about to turn on the air conditioner. I saw something come through. Lee, beware of experience scores. Tenant obtain an instant 12-point boost in their score bills by adding phone, utilities, and popular streaming services to their credit report. Yes, absolutely, but it's only about 12 points. And if they're paying all those bills, that should kind of help them, right? Because they're telling me that they're paying their utilities, and that's a red flag on a credit report for me. If your tenant's not paying their utilities, why do you think they're going to pay you? Make sense? Water bill, trash bill, electricity, they're all going to need it to live in your property, but if they have them unpaid somewhere else, that's a problem. That's a red flag. Things I overlook on a credit report, just for knowledge, just so everybody knows my screening practices. I overlook medical debt. It's not anybody's fault that the medical coverage in this country sucks. Let's just face it. I overlook medical debt. I overlook student loans, because you know what? You could take one class or so many classes every so many months and still get a deferment in that money. Okay? I also overlook cell phone bills. Back in the day when they weren't all inclusive and you got charged for every text you did and every call you made, and you got nickeled and dimed, and then your kids got the phone bill and they called their friends and didn't realize you were paying, and all of a sudden you have a $3,000 phone bill. That wasn't cool. So I overlooked those. Things I look for, unpaid utility bills on a credit report tells me you don't pay your bills. How are you going to pay your rent? Just saying, something to think about. Giving you a tip and trick. But watch what was acquired during the pandemic. You may see several credit cards come through during the pandemic that they were open accounts and what those balances are. And then you can know that they had retail therapy. All right, I saw something else come through. What do you look for as far as qualifications? Well, on Widget's Way somewhere, and I'll have to find out from Yuri exactly where, I have a criteria checklist of what's on my criteria sheet. So I look for that you make 3 times the amount of the rent monthly. I look that you have at least 1 year of employment or verifiable income. Doesn't have to be employment, you guys, just verifiable income. Otherwise, you're discriminating against its source. And I have a list of things. No evictions. I know it's hard for us to see if they have any evictions, but don't tell them that. Sometimes they'll be very forthcoming with you and tell you, oh, I see that you don't take evictions, but I have this one because I co-signed for a kid in college and this is what happened. But at least it starts that conversation so that you know what's going on. Yeah, it's on there. No felony convictions for manufacturing an illegal substance. I have that on there. Basically, it's drug trafficking. So, oh, look, April, I love you. It's listed under property manager's tools. April, I might have to hire you. You know that? If you guys are ever chasing money, talk to April because that girl knows how to get money. Let me tell you, through the state programs, government programs, county programs, city programs, churches. She knows how to get your tenants rent paid if they really want to get it paid. Just saying. All right, you guys, if anybody doesn't have anything else, I'll go ahead and close for this week. Please keep your mind focused on, somebody's trying to call me. I'm like, I'm in the middle of a Zoom meeting. Try to keep your mind focused on the fact that we're going to be inundated with our court system. I mean, how many of us are looking to evict right now or want to terminate tenancy or something along those lines? And we need the courts to help us reinforce it once the pandemic is over with. That's going to cause a bigger hiccup. All the people that want to continue with eviction because the tenant didn't pay the 25%. And then if we have the real estate market crash on top of it, please take note, foreclosures go through eviction court and then they have to evict the occupant of the property. So that is a whole nother conundrum piling up on us. So keep that in mind when your first reaction is, we'll just go to legal, because you know you're right. Legal takes time and costs money. And when you're in eviction, you don't get paid the rent. And if they're going to tell me you're going to get a year of no rent or 6 months of no rent, plus have to pay your legal expenses, we may want to reconsider what we're signing up for. That's all I'm saying. If you can come to an agreement with the tenant, absolutely do it. I see your question, Diana. Let me get to it and we'll pull that up. Has anyone received an update or a callback on the housing is key application? April? Anybody? I know a lot of people say it's been assigned to a worker and they don't have that done yet. Has anybody gotten any funds from Housing is Key yet? I don't think they're going to pay us out until June, right before everything's lifted, right before the expiration of Senate Bill 91. They're still sorting out all the details and they'll continue to sort out all the details. April, have you been paid from, I don't know if she's still here, Housing is Key yet? I saw something come through. April says you can log into the Neighborly site. Will it tell you if you have a worker assigned to your case yet and if you need any additional documentation? Is that how they're doing that? And the only reason I ask April, you guys, is because she has been chasing money for a long time and I am fortunate that my tenants have rectified themselves. Didn't think that would happen, but I have a feeling it has to do with the balance and keeping the balance right and finding a good quality tenant. She genuinely had a problem. I genuinely worked with her. It took 3 months. She's back on track. No issues. So just a thought. I don't know that anybody that's got paid by the government program. Okay, you can log onto the Neighborly site to check the status on the right-hand side. It will tell you the status. 2 of our 4 tenants were approved last week. Have you seen a check yet, even though they were approved? Because I don't think we're going to get money until June. Unfortunately, no updates. Hold on, Diana. Unfortunately, no updates on the site. When I call, I don't have a worker and application in progress on the site. It takes time, darling. When did you apply? As soon as it opened, Diana, or did you wait a couple weeks before you applied? They only release information on the landlord's application. They will not release any information on the tenant's application, and you applied on March 15th. Well, hang in there. You can go try to look on the site and see if they have anything on there. But for the most part, what I'm hearing, except for April saying 2 tenants got approved last week, is that it's a very slow going process and we probably won't see the funds until end of June. And that's just my guess. Government says, we're here, we're going to help you way down the road. Right? That makes sense, right? That makes so much sense. We'll help you, but just not today. Maybe next week. Government nuisance. I said nuisance. I'm sorry. That was genuine. Governor Newsom announced a plan to pay 100% of rental housing providers 100% of rent owed, pending being made an actual bill. So contacting Housing is Key for further information on how to apply for this. Here's my problem. If illegal immigrants are coming into this country and we're giving them $1,200 and sending them on their way, and we're paying more than half of our population more money than they made when they were working to stay home and not work, how are they going to continue to pay all of us landlords that are owed rent? Eventually, they're going to run out of money, but it's okay. They'll just print more, right? This is gonna be bad, you guys. Buckle up. This is not good. Everybody paying attention? Does the big picture make sense to you of what's happening in our nation, not just in our state or our county? Big picture, guys, big picture. And when the housing market crashes, it doesn't just crash in California, it crashes across the country, okay? We're seeing problems across the nation. We're seeing people that don't want to go back to work. They're making more money staying home. There's no incentive for them to go back to work. They're going to go back-breaking work and bring home less money. That makes sense. Sorry, I don't mean to sound so bleak. Yes, gruesome Newsom, Val. You got it. He needs to be holding targets. Just some of the things that are coming out of legislation now makes me go, huh? Because what are they trying to make us so dependent on them for? Right? I don't want to be dependent on anybody, let alone the government. Yeah, think about that. Let that process. Where's all this money coming from? Doesn't make sense. All right, April's got more info. Let's see what she says. If the status shows application submitted, it's going to be a while. If the status shows approved pending landlord, the landlords will be contacted via email within a few weeks. This is what I was explained when I last contacted Housing is Key for an update. Thank you, April. All right, you guys, I'm going to end this for today unless anybody has anything else they want to throw at us really quickly. I have jet lag. Sorry. It's a long flight coming from Philly to LA yesterday. It's an all-day adventure, trust me. All right, you guys have a great week. If you need anything, call me, hunt me down. You know how to find me, bounce things off of me. I'm here for you guys. All right. And I'm back in California. Yay. All right. I'm sure we'll chat again next Wednesday and want to go into more detail about what San Diego's doing versus what LA's doing and see if we can't get everybody on the same page and looking at the big picture and what's happening. Remember, if you want to sell right now, please go talk to your real estate broker about what programs you have available so that you're not paying capital gains tax. And please talk to your CPA as well. Make sure that if you're selling right now, you're doing the best so you don't lose half of your profits. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.